When do you think we'll ever have equal representation in the workplace, and what can we do to speed up the process?
So equal representation, I know one of the things that sort of triggers me thinking about equal pay between men and women, but clearly there's also a sort of ethnicity question as well. I mean, one thing I'll say is I'm no fan of quotas. And so something I experienced as a women MP and a female candidate was a drive to try and have more women standing for Parliament. And should we have all women shortlists, for instance? And that's not something the Conservative Party went for. Instead, they did a whole system of mentoring and supporting women who were interested in standing for Parliament to come through. And as a result of which, we got quite a lot more women becoming Conservative MPs. There's still further to go. It's not 50-50, but we made real progress without having to do a sort of quotas approach to it.
I'd argue the biggest place that you need to fight inequality is in your own head. And I think that is not saying that it's your fault or your responsibility to fix this, particularly not if you're in a minority group that is particularly affected by inequality. But the difference in aspiration makes such a huge impact on how people engage. I'm from a working class background. I went to Oxford, and there was a report that came out recently about how few people there are who are from different backgrounds, and particularly people who are BME going into Oxford, and it's tiny and it's shameful. And talking to the young people I know who are black and minority ethnic that I work with in my university, part of it is they were talking about often they're the first person in their family to go to university. They didn't know people who've gone into the Foreign Office or who've gone into sort of certain types of jobs, who've become CEOs of businesses, all those sorts of things. And so role models make such a difference. If you can get hold of your MP, if you can get hold of anyone who's a good role model for you, and if you and your friends, get them to come and give a talk at your school, write to them, bug them, get them to know your name, and actually inspire the idea in you and your friends that there are people like you who are going into positions of power and are making a huge difference.
I now kind of have a better understanding of what it feels like to be the only lady on a panel of Muslim men, because in my community, it generally tends to be just the one lady, if at all. But I think there is room here, much as I am in favor of giving someone a job on merit and following the horses for courses argument. I think there is room within our country for positive discrimination, if for nothing else, to give encouragement to our minority communities that you too can make it. This is a country of opportunities. This is your country. You work hard and you will enjoy the fruit of your labor. It'd be very interesting to hear from some of the Muslims in the audience who wear a scarf, whether you're anxious about landing a job because of the piece of cloth on your head, because I come across many cases where competent women have been denied employment simply because they were wearing a scarf.
One point I would like to raise is that I think positive discrimination works like for positive and negative reasons. For example, I'm black. But when I go for a job, I don't want to be hired just because they're trying to get their quotas up on their race. I want to be hired because of my qualities and my skills. But at the same time, I do believe that when you're looking for a job, that they should recognize color. Like one example is in South America, they have the problem of white flight, where the government is saying that they need to hire more black people, and white people, white South Africans are taking their job elsewhere because they don't want to agree to that quota. And I think that's unfair.
I don't understand, we're being empowered every day because people are accepting sexuality and other things now, and other ideologies and things, and fast thinking things that people have in this generation. But we still can't get past how sexist people are, and how in every day people are discriminated against based on their race, on their colour, or their sexuality, or anything. Like, even when this has been accepted, we're still, politicians aren't doing anything about it. You've got female politicians in Parliament, and they're still not pushing for women's rights.
I think it's a bit sad that in the 21st century, people are still narrow-minded, and the colour of your skin, or your religion, or just simply wearing a headscarf is kind of like a factor that determines whether you get a job or anything. I mean, personally, I've been called a terrorist before, and it's not a nice feeling, and it does kind of get you anxious on whether you're going to get a job or not.
I don't believe that quotas or positive discrimination is the answer, but I think building a meritocracy whereby people are truly judged on their talents and how far their education has taken them, instead of how they've been brought up, their beliefs, or what they look like.
To look at the issues surrounding ethnic backgrounds in the workplace, we have to look about what happens in schools as well. There have been a lot of news stories about Rastafarian religion and also about transgender, about parents complaining about boys dressing up as girls in school, and about them telling off a boy that he has long dreadlocks, and he can just pull up in a bun. And I think it's just this whole idea that we have to actually shine light on the fact that there are some religions and some ethnicities that we don't actually know much about. And if we teach that at an early stage, then we can not dispel it, but we can slowly start to decrease that discrimination within the workplace.
In the news, there's been new accusations about the parliament having sexual assault to women. So us as the younger generation and women that want to follow politics, how would you convince us that joining the parliament is going to be a safe place for us?